Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Good morning, Pilot Mound Hockey Academy fans, and welcome into episode 14, season 2 of the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions. I'm your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth. This edition of the Buffaloes podcast brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Be sure to check out their store location, their only store location, 995 Miltsteagle Drive, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. We're also brought to you by Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools. Be sure to check out their store locations in Brandon and Winnipeg today, as well as their website. They're your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. To Terrico, serving Manitoba producers for over 80 years in the agricultural industry. To find out why, check out their website at terico.ca, and to Goaltenders, your goalie's personal video review service. Be sure to check out their website at gordytumelsongoalies.ca to find out more about what they do over there. Thank you to all those sponsors for continuing to support our coverage of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy coverage here on your home for hockey on G Show Productions. As for the brand Goaltenders, their owner and Gordy Tumelson, as always, joining today's edition of the Buffaloes podcast, where me and Gordy, we're going to be talking about the U15's past weekend of games at home, as well as the U17's only game. The U18 male preps, talking about their busy 6-game week, and as well as talking about the female U18 prep Buffaloes. We also talk about some holiday stuff as well, and looking forward into 2025, 2026 in terms of some recruiting type of discussions. So without further ado, Gordy Tumelson, the man of many positions down in Pilot Mound Hockey Academy on their staff, joining the show next year on December 18th here in 2024 on the Buffaloes podcast, episode 14, season 2. Gordy Tumelson joining another edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Gordy, Christmas in a week from now when this episode is airing, and with that, some teams do fundraisers like Pilot Mound Hockey Academy did for Christmas cheer and their local food bank. The U17 and U15 preps were involved in this. Gordy, break it down for us, this great initiative that these two teams took part in.
Yeah, these guys are, the management folks and the players are they're phenomenal. They do all these other things that no one even knows about. We throw them up on, Carson does social media stuff with it, but basically we did the cancer thing a couple weeks ago, and now we did a Christmas cheer sort of food bank thing with cash donations and a number of boxes full of canned goods, etc., that people just brought to the rink. They advertise in town, and around in the newspaper, and people just bring stuff and drop it off. It's really wonderful to see, and that's the big hearts that these folks have out in Pilot Mound. They're always thinking about others, and it's really neat. And both teams played on the weekend. The U15 guys played three times. The U17 guys played once, but they manned the front lobby and made sure that people didn't get past without making a small donation at least. So good on them.
Well, there you go. And yeah, I mean, you spoke about in terms of the stuff the management has put together this year in terms of the fundraisers, right, Gordy? And we always talk about it, how huge it is for players in this academy specifically to give back to the community since they're already, living in a small town community for the season and playing in the CSSHL. So yeah, we talk about it so many times, but how truly huge is this for not only the player but the individual to experience this, to giving back to the community?
Well, sure. I mean, most of the kids come from bigger places. I don't know many, many people that come from smaller ones, and so for them to be right in the middle of giving is way better than they might have gotten back home. We know people do things at home and other teams do things, so we're not the only guys in town doing stuff. And in this case, but it's a big part of what the Pilot Mount Hockey Academy is, and it's because of the owners, because of management, because of the coaches, and because of the players. And the players really benefit from this, just because they're not usually involved in these things. Other than if someone pushes a little bit extra hard at their home team back in their home city. They're sort of oblivious to this stuff. Well, they're right in the middle of this because they're out collecting, they're out doing, they're out telling people. So and they're greeting folks at the sort of the Walmart greeter at the front door of the lobby at the Blackjack Stewart Arena. So good on our kids to be involved and management and folks in town to give them that opportunity to see what giving and feeling good is all about.
Yeah, for sure. Really showcases, the maturity and the respect that, all these players that have been donating, do have here in the academy. And yeah, shout out to the U15 and U17 prep mail programs for taking part in a great initiative, donating to, or taking stuff to donate from Christmas to Christmas cheer and the local food bank over at Podmount Hockey Academy. But Gordy, let's speak about the games that the U17 prep Buffaloes played, as well as we'll talk about the U18 male preps and female prep Buffaloes. No wins in the win column, but some hard-fought games in there. Let's break it down, Gordy, from the, I guess, U17s to the U18 programs.
Yeah, we had an O for three of our four teams. Unfortunately, close games, but we came out on the wrong side of all of them. The U18 males were 0 for 6 on their road trip out west, 6 games in 6 days. And interestingly enough, they played with as much zest and zing and whatever they had going for them in the last game as they did in the first game. So the effort wasn't the problem. It was just being able to score one more goal than the other guys, and they couldn't do it. So I guess we got to work on our goalies harder so we can keep that one extra goal down and not give it up and maybe win some more games. But yeah, the U18 guys were 0 for 6, but battled hard. The girls were 0 for 2 and had one game canceled. I'll get to the road conditions in a moment. And then the U17 males had a loss by one goal. Yeah, the biggest part of that whole thing was two teams were on the road and came home on Sunday. And Sunday was a horrendous day in Saskatchewan. That's why we had the canceled game for the girls. And then, and of course, the guys are coming back from BC. So they're driving in the same conditions as the girls are. Highway number one is notorious for being, kind of a big whiteout spot. So they had to take their time and chug through, but they got home. And we've got to give kudos to our bus drivers and all the folks that they rely on the road
For sure.
to give them the right information, the weather people and Google or whatever else goes on here. I don't know what happens and whatever's going on out there, it helps get our kids home safe and sound, and that's the important thing. Wins and losses really don't matter when it comes down to safety and getting everybody home in those big buses and sort of weird conditions. So good on the bus drivers. Thank you for all the work you do for our kids, getting them home safe and sound. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the biggest one of it all, isn't it, Gordy? The kids getting home safely. As yes, thank you to the bus drivers for their dedication and their perseverance through the terrible conditions, the road conditions on Sunday specifically. But yeah, I guess, for the U18 score, I mean, that's a lot of hockey in those 6 days, right? And we talked about that last week. Fizzling out, of course, 10-1 loss against North Shore, but there was some competitive games in there for the U18s, and the other games, of course, competitive, like that Prairie Hockey Academy loss for the U17 preps. Ends up being only 5-4, right? And of course, the U18 female preps end up battling hard against the AAA teams. So we talk about it all the time, right? How big it is to compete. How huge is that at the end of the day, knowing that these teams have this type of fight in them, win or lose?
Yeah, our kids somehow they figure it out. I guess maybe they might know before they're coming. I mean, everybody looks at the standings from last year before they show up at our door. I can assure you of that. Every kid knows that we're not the top ranked academies in terms of wins and losses. That doesn't drive the 80 kids that come to our program. The 80 kids that come to our program are driven by personal development and their maturity as people and their maturity as teammates and bringing our academy standing up a notch every year that we've been playing. And that's been happening for a number of years. So we're moving into the higher levels of wins and losses, but that again is not the important part of what academy of life is for most academies and Pilot Mountain being them. I mean, the big top teams, they battled out for the championship, and good for them. That's what they do. But our kids battled for the pride, their own personal pride, and the pride of the logo on their chest, and the fact that they're working really hard. And then when they get scouted, and then when they get picked by a university or a junior team, that's when it all comes to the fore, and they go, "Thanks, Pilot Mountain, for being there for me, helping me get to where I want to go next."
Yeah, and there you go. And I mean, we've been seeing the growth and development from all teams in this academy throughout the past few years, specifically as well. So we're going to talk about maybe a bit of, the future plans for Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy heading into the 2025 calendar year in terms of that side of things, the recruitment and all that stuff, what they may have planned. But Gordy, we're going to talk about a team who did some winning for themselves this past weekend in the U15 Prep Buffaloes. All coming up next on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy's official podcast here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. Welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast, everybody,
Hmm.
with Gordy Tummelson and myself, Graham Forsyth, of course. Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. All their teams done playing games until the new year, Gordy, in 2025, which excited to talk about those games when the time comes. But we're still talking about this past weekend of action. And for the U15 Prep Buffaloes, well, picking up 3 wins at Blackjack Stewart Arena against the Notre Dame Hounds. The first game of the weekend for them, Gordy, a 6-5 OT win, and then after that, locking down defensively. Only 2 goals allowed throughout those next 2 games. They finish off their 2024 side of the schedule strong. The assessment from another outstanding weekend from this group.
Well, that little team that's got a man or two short because of injuries and whatever, they're amazing. They just say they're the never quit team. The little train that could do it, or whatever that book was, or it's just amazing. They come back now. They played their first game on Friday night against Notre Dame. Of course, the Notre Dame Hounds, they used to beat us all the time in all of our teams. Now they're having trouble beating this U15 team, and we beat them the last 2 times we played them. I think earlier on this year, and now we're looking to continue that. And so they come in for 3 games, and we go 6-5 in overtime on Friday night. Gavin Hildebrand holds the fort enough to get us by that. We were down 2-0 in the first period, the first 5 minutes. Ah, and then we came back and won the hockey game. And then I think it was 4-5-1 and 3-1 and then 3-1 or something like that. In the next 2 games, Yuki Kito had a really strong game. But defensively, we gave up 50-55 shots on the Friday night game, but in the next 2 games, in the 30-35 shot range. Well, right there. It's 15 less shots, and and if you take those 15 shots, they're always a lot harder because they're the extra rebounds, they're the extra plays in front of the net that people aren't picking up. So the defense came to play, the defensive game came to play, the forwards were back checking, high man when you're on the other end of the rink, make sure that third guy's coming back so they don't get 3-on-2s and 2-on-1s. Well, that just pays dividends. You don't have to score 10 goals to win a game. You can score two or three, and you get yourself a win. And kids don't realize that. They think they got to score a bunch, or they want to score a bunch, but they don't worry about the back end. Somehow they think the goalie's going to look after everything. Well, that isn't the case. We all know that. Although our two kids in goal were just as steady as the day is long. So good on our team to win. Colin Fafara and Brad Platt, the coaches, were thrilled with the three wins, and made us all at the academy feel really happy that we were involved, and it made our Christmas cheerboard stuff even better.
Well, and or three of the wins came in some entertaining fashion as well,
Oh,
Gord, because this team ended up being down in that 6-5 OT win, and then down 1-0 after being outshot 19-5 in that first period of the Sunday game. But the story, it seems like time after time when we talk about this team, is the two leading the way up front, and Maddox Ramage and Cole Landerville, both reaching at least 20 goals this past weekend in that 3-1 win. Maddox now at 21, Cole now at 20. These two continue to drive the bus, Gordy, and it seems like everyone else seems to follow this duo.
well, we can talk about those two guys all day long and never be wrong. I mean, Maddox just knows where to be. Cole just gives him the biscuit. It's like watching Gretzky and Mark Messier. You go over there and I'll just give it to you. Boom, you put it in. And that's the way it goes. And even you can talk about Dave Semenko. If Dave Semenko did pretty well with Gretzky, put your stick on the ice, I'll hit it, it'll go in. So I mean, Cole's a special kid, and Maddox knows how to play with him. They're just wonderful together. Two guys I want to talk a little bit more about are number 21 Brock Bowden from Manitou, and big defenseman Brett Boers, I think, who was on our show last week. Those two guys, I mean, they just get points and they make plays. I mean, Bowden just, he's the third guy in the line. He doesn't get quite as much timing. I remember way back in the WHA when I played in the first year. I can go back this far. Chris Bordelot was the center. Bobby Hull played on the left side, and a guy that no one ever paid attention to, Normie Bowden, played. Well, Normie got 40 goals playing with Bobby Hull. Oh yeah, okay, because or 40 assists, and my God, he did really well. You play with those big guys, you get them the puck, you get points, and good things happen. But you got to contribute, and those Boers, particularly Doyle, who was on there as well, the New York kid. Yeah, really, really, these guys have come along, and they figured out who to play with and how to play, and they're on the power play, so good for them. And then the other kids chip in here and there. They don't get a lot of points. They don't get to start them, but the other kids are and not only on the point side, but they're the kids checking. Because you got, yeah, sometimes the big shooters that get scored on a little bit here and there. It's up to the second, third, and fourth lines not to be scored on, get some odd goals, and then that's how you win games. Is you don't get any goals against you, and you get the odd one here and there, and let the big guys figure their game out, whatever they do. So good on them. And then of course our defense and our goalies were really stingy on the weekend. I know Gavin played super in the first period with 19 saves. He was marvelous in the first period. Yuki was as steady as he could be, and then the kids took over in second, third period in every game. So good on us.
Yeah, and I mean, huge when you're able to have that good goaltending complemented by some star power, and then everyone else kind of chipping in and doing their job, right? For this U15 Prep Buffalo squad, like the rest of the teams in Pilot Mound, getting a little break for the time being, heading into the Christmas break. Now, Pilot Mound in the U15 Prep Division, Gordy, after that weekend, moving up to or staying in ninth place, moving up to 11, 12, 1, 0, 0, and 1 in the CSSHL standings. we could kind of talk about every team here, Gordy, and at their, I guess, halfway point in the season, but we're gonna save that for maybe the first episode back in terms of what to expect then, since it'll be a bit fresher. I want to talk about the player development side of things, the scouting side of things. We've mentioned some things here on the show in terms of evaluation camps coming up, of course, starting in the spring months. But overall, what's part of the big plan here to get things rolling for 2025, 2026 here as we get into now early outlook on that?
Well, that's always a fun time, and we're working on those plans as we speak. Our scouting takes a bit of a hiatus once the summer hits and takes us through the Christmas time and into the new year. And I'll get into that. There's some rules and regulations we have to follow. So we're not allowed to do a ton of scouting in Canada, at least in Western Canada, because everybody's just picky and touchy and they don't want their kids picked off. They're playing and they don't be bothered. So I guess that's okay. So we don't do a lot of scouting. We go and watch the kids. We're not allowed to do a lot of contacting of players until later on in the spring. Once the playoffs are over, we can get at it a little bit. And so, or at least players are not, we're not allowed to go to talk to them or their parents. If they find us somehow, well, that's a nice thing. That's okay. But right now, our what we're working on is player retention, and player retention is huge. We got 80 kids here. Now we know that we're going to lose a few. Just they're going to graduate out in the girls program and the U18 boys. So we probably got 30 kids there that are going to graduate, or 20, at least 20 graduate out, and then we're going to lose a few kids for whatever other reasons there are. And so we're looking at probably um, 30 to 30 to 40 kids leaving us. So 40 to 30 to 40 kids having to be found. But we're trying to retain all the ones that want to come back and that we feel can compete. That's part of the deal. When the kids figure out they can't compete and they didn't get better this year, then they'll drop out. And then that's fine. We understand that. Um, Sometimes we have to tell them that, and that's the unfortunate part of having to pick and choose players. But then we start looking for 30 to 40 to 50 kids on an annual basis. We have people out there in Europe, in the United States, in all of Canada, looking for players. I was talking to a scout yesterday, had lunch to a guy in Winnipeg. Lo and behold, we didn't have a scout in Winnipeg, so I think we got one now, and he'll start looking into things down the road a little bit as the league rules permit. Again, we're kind of constrained there, which everybody's constrained in the league. You just can't go and talk to everybody. It throws kids off, throws parents off. They want to wait till the end of the year, and that's okay.
I've been thinking about this, right, Gordy, because obviously there's the U15 program, and that theoretically, as we talked about, meant to be the feeder program for this academy. Then there's the AAA Buffs programs as well. I'm trying to think about, the female U18 side of things. If you can't obviously add in a team to an age lower because the CSSHL doesn't have divisions like that, of course, female hockey here in Manitoba has become extremely competitive with, of course, the amount of academies there are, the Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League. So is there any ways of kind of thinking forward in terms of a different way, in terms of finding a system, a stream of, more consistent female talent to come into this U18 program to kind of develop them before coming into the program? Is that something this academy's kind of thought about it in terms of thinking forward that way?
Yeah, we're trying to develop relationships everywhere, both for the boys' side and the girls' side. We developed a couple last year. We're hoping that those things will appear again this year. A couple of showcase events in Alberta, in particular, and we're looking for showcase events anywhere that come after the season where we become known to the proprietors of the showcase, whoever those people may be, and then we become a regular visitor to them. Maybe we have a booth that people can come up and we can present them with a brochure and show them some video and talk to them a little bit about this and that. It's kind of where the girls go, and if you're gonna find girls, that's where you're gonna find them. The kids kind of know us in Manitoba. because of the rink's got a program, of course. We have a program. Balmoral's got a good program, a long time. So is St. Mary's. So we're kind of in a big battle for Manitoba kids. We haven't really, certainly Winnipeg kids. They're almost out of the question getting Winnipeg kids to come out. Not that it's not happening or never did, but it's tougher. But the rural girls are certainly more adventurous than and rural Western Manitoba girls. Then of course we've got these other things going on. So the big showcases are where we think our stream of players will come from. And what we try and do then, of course, is bring in some 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. We got a mix of kids, so we don't lose 20 kids all at once and then have to find 20 more. If we lose 10, then we've got still got 10 kind of a nucleus. It depends on how that good that nucleus is. And we worked really hard last year and we're trying to continue to develop that as well.
Right, and yeah, I mean, I think everyone here wants to see this female U18 prep program thrive, and they got the good things in place, right, Cordy? Like a consistent coaching staff this season, good system in place, some good talent on this year's team, and yeah, we'll be
Hmm.
patiently waiting to see what type of talent they'll be bringing in come next season. That will be new faces to the team as well as the rest of the programs, Gordy. But yeah, evaluation camps, of course, AAA program. Is that really going to be the biggest part of the evaluation process? Is seeing those evaluation skates coming up, or is there anything else that our viewers should be keeping an eye on, Gordy, in terms of stuff coming up with Pilot Mountain in terms of recruiting?
No, I think we've touched on all of that. We've got people out looking. We've got our parents that look for help us out. If they're coming back next year, they want to see the team get better. We've got a number of parents, in fact, they don't go out and beat the door down, but they go out and they're watching all the time because they're keen hockey people, mums and dads, doesn't matter which, and they go out and they notice somebody and they may go over and talk to them and say, "Hey, have you ever considered academy hockey, etc.? We've got a great program. My daughter or our son goes in Pilot Mound, and here you go." And so we get a number of kids come, or at least coming to the looking at us. So it's going to come from everywhere. Scouts, parents looking around, showcases, evaluation camps, the AAA program. We're hoping that hasn't been as good to us as we'd like it to be. The kids like to play in the AAA program, but they shy away sometimes because of it's in a very the irregular academy program. Of course, it's far more expensive, and it sort of chases them away. They've had a great time in AAA spring, but when it comes time to come to the academy, they back off and go to AAA, and that's fine. I mean, there's no commitment. We don't ask them to commit, but we'd like them to because they're part of our family for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then we lose them at age 14.
Right. Well, maybe we start to see more in Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, AAA Buffaloes start to join the teams in the academy moving forward as they maybe some of them want to take that next step, and Pilot Mountain could be that place, right, Gordy?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is gonna do it for this episode. This is gonna be the last time we see you until 2025, Gordy. For now, do you have a message to our viewers going into the holidays season?
Well, I always have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, depending on which one you like. On that messaging part. Great New Year's celebrations, etc. Please have a safe, healthy, happy time. It's just more important to be everybody be in good shape and come out of there and be ready to play hockey. Be fresh and raring to go. I know our goalies will be, and I certainly our Buffaloes will be as well come the new year. So happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Well, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you as well, Gordy. And yeah, until 2025, yeah, you enjoy, your downtime, time with the family, all that great stuff. Hope you have some good Christmas dinners in there as well, Gordy. Enjoy all that great stuff. And yeah, until 2025, we'll see Gordy Thomason then.
Thanks, Graham.
And Gordy Tomlinson joining this edition of the Buffaloes podcast. Won't see Gordy again until January until the New Year's. So yeah, I want to wish them once again Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, as well as a Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas to anyone who celebrates that holiday in particular here. That's tuning in to G Show Productions on gshow.ca. Above all the rest, I hope that everyone has a safe holiday at that, and everyone is able to enjoy it with family if you're able to, for sure. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, is spending time with those you love and staying safe. But as for Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy teams, they'll have a chance to be able to go home soon here during their holiday break. And then once they come back, be ready to go again to start up their games. And there were a lot of games that were played for, across the U18 male prep Buffalo schedule, and they also had some highlight reel worthy action in there, as well as this highlight was posted by the CSSHL. I'm pretty sure it's defenseman Michael Sukup who finishes off this tic-tac-toe pass and play, but I'm not totally sure on that. And what a play there. The chemistry on full display from that trio of Buffaloes. And getting the goaltender right out of position. Have him scrambling in that crease and just putting away that tap in at that point. Beautiful execution there from the U18 male Buffs, who obviously didn't come away with a win from their past 6 games in 6 days, but got close in some of them. At the end of the day, though, just great that they were able to make it home, as well as all the rest of the teams in the academy that ended up traveling. We're going to send it to a transition here, and then I'm going to come back with some final words on this edition of the Buffaloes podcast, as well as some news updates from around the academy of some stuff that's been going on. You're watching the Buffaloes podcast, episode 14, season 2 here on G Show Productions. Commercial break, actually, coming up next, and then more here on your home of hockey, or for hockey here in the province of Manitoba. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Welcome back to the Buffaloes podcast here on G Show Productions, our penultimate episode of this 2024 calendar year. Man, it's flown by, hasn't it? Going to be hopefully connecting with some coaches from the academy in a Christmas special that we got planned for next week. So stay tuned for that, coming up on Christmas Day here in 2024 on Christmas morning. Very excited for that. We got a big announcement coming on Friday in terms of our content plans for next week in that regard. But yeah, maybe over this weekend as well we'll announce it. But either way, big announcement coming soon. And as for Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, well, 2025 will be here before we know it. And they got their evaluation camp starting a few months into 2025 in March, go until April. It's evaluation camps 2025. Like I said, it'll be here before we know it. If you're interested in potentially joining the Buffaloes family and playing for Pilot Mountain in 2025-2026, sure to register today and make your way down to small town Pilot Mountain at the time that this happens, and experience the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy culture and all that good stuff while making an impression on their staff. Like I said, pilotmountainhockeyacademy.com is the place to go to register. As for their AAA Spring program their ID skates for 2017 and 18 born players. They ended up actually happening this past Sunday, and yeah, full ice games and Hockey Canada rules um, were involved. And it's crazy to say that 2017, 2018 born players playing in this sport now. Yeah, just means myself. I'm getting older, only 23 years old, and I find that crazy. And crazy awesome that Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy ended up doing a Christmas donation drive with donations going to Christmas cheer and food donations going to the Rock Lake Community Food Bank. That happened on December 13th and 15th this past weekend. Shout out again to the U15 and U17 Prep Buffaloes teams for volunteering it and making it all happen. But yeah, Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, this has been a exciting 2024 schedule of this season. Yes, there's been, a fair share of losses in there, but a lot of positives, a lot of wins as we went along. And yeah, even though 3 of the 4 teams in the academy end off 2024 in the losing column, got to be excited about what this U15 prep team is doing, as they're 9th place now in the U15 prep division, have been heading into this week as well, but solidifying their spot there for now and looking to continue their impressive season so far for themselves. The best in that academy's program's history so far. So yeah, shout out to them, as well as all the other teams, for continuing to improve here in Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy as the season's gone along. Can't wait to see what the improvements continue to look like in 2025. I want to thank Gordy Tummelson for coming on the show and being the guest for this episode. I'm sure we're going to have plenty more to talk about as this season goes along here, as we get closer and closer to playoff time in Penticton in terms of the CSSHL, how things go there. Special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in as well today. If you want to support us here on G Show Productions, easy way to do that is, if you enjoyed this episode today, consider leaving a like, as well as consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Grows our subscriber base, as well as if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any future episodes of the Buffaloes podcast, as the next one will be coming out on Christmas next week, a bit of a Christmas special, as I'm hoping to connect with coaches from around Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy to get an insight on how the season's been going from their perspective, looking on maybe to the 2025 side of the schedule too. That's all to be decided next week in terms of what we'll be talking about. Details will be posted on our social media platforms on G Show Productions. Type that in and you should be able to find us on Instagram, Facebook, X, as well as on TikTok, but we probably won't post on TikTok. Lastly, got to give a special thanks to our sponsors here in Terrico, Goaltenders, Make Cannon Fasters and Tools, as well as Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, for sponsoring another edition of the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy podcast, the Buffaloes podcast, and continuing to support our coverage of this Hockey Academy here on your home for hockey on G Show Productions. Until next time, folks, as you can see there, Make Cannon Fasters and Tools. If you're looking for a Christmas present on the industrial side of things, well, take a gander over there, take a look, as they got stores in Winnipeg and in Brandon. They're your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Also, they got a website, mccannonfasters.shop, you can check out as well. But yeah, that's all for me today, everybody. Graham the G Show Forsyth, giving you a peace sign, peacing out and waving so long. If we don't see you again next week, Buffaloes fans, like I said a bit earlier, have a wonderful and safe holiday, and a Merry Christmas if you do celebrate that holiday in particular. To no matter what other holiday you may be celebrating this year, that may be Christmas, and enjoy that as well. Take care, everybody, and thanks again for all your support and tuning in.